much as we're living through a sure golden age of TV right now, where there's simply more quality content available than anyone could possibly watch, it's also fair to say that the industry is currently in a state of major change and uncertainty. The streaming landscape is changing, TV channels are being bought and sold, and things are being binned left, right and centre. So, I'm Amy from What Culture, and here are 10 more TV shows that just got cancelled. 10. Charmed. We're kicking off this list with just one of the many high-profile, fairly mid to high-budget shows that just got binned by the CW ahead of their sale. Charmed debuted in 2018 to considerable fan skepticism about the very notion of a reboot. Though reviews were generally positive out the gate, people obviously still had their hesitations. As charming as the whole idea was, it was hardly ever a ratings smash, and viewers dwindled off with each season, definitely not being helped by the departure of lead Madeline Mantock. Following her departure at the end of season 3, and before its 4th season had even finished airing, the CW announced that Charmed wouldn't be returning for a 5th season, and though no official reason was cited, we can assume it was due to the meagre ratings. Overall, for a show that failed to generate much of a spark, 4 seasons is pretty good innings. Nevertheless, it's clear that the new Charmed couldn't match the iconic appeal, or charm if you will, of its predecessor, which ran for 8. Given that this isn't the first Charmed reboot to fail, if we look back to CBS in 2014, they had theirs too, maybe we should learn from this and just leave that IP alone for a while. 9. Saved by the Bell. Another reboot that invited immediate criticism was Saved by the Bell, both trying to reboot the whole IP by giving it a fresh new look, whilst also inviting fans of the past to come back by including its legacy cast. Expectations were incredibly low prior to its 2020 premiere, and yet Saved by the Bell went on to receive strong reviews for its self-aware tone and diverse, inclusive cast. Its first season was Peacock's most watched original series at the time of its airing, and with season 2 going on to receive even stronger reviews, the show's future seemed very secure. And yet, mere weeks after it won Outstanding Comedy Series at the GLAAD Media Awards, Peacock announced that it would be cancelled and wouldn't be returning for a 3rd season. Now, once again, they didn't give an official reason for its cancelling, which, it's not that unexpected, it's not a thing that's often done, but we can assume it was either due to maybe an immense drop-off in viewers, or it could be down to the recent managerial changes in Peacock's structure, meaning that they wanted to focus their energies on newer, buzzier, more popular stuff, and this just didn't make the cut. Either way, it's a sad fate for a series that defied understandably meagre hopes to deliver a smart, reverent retooling of an iconic yet dated classic franchise. 8. 4400. Made victim to the CW's recent bloodbath, 4400 was yet another reboot of a classic series, but maybe not one as popular or well-known as Saved by the Bell. The original series ran for 4 seasons between 2004 to 2007, and was ultimately cancelled due to both the Writers Guild of America strike and dwindling ratings. This is all despite it receiving consistently strong reviews throughout its run. The reboot, which launched last October, actually failed to strike much of a chord at all. It was quite different and took a different tone from the original, focusing more on telling the story of white supremacy, predominantly from a black viewpoint, which, as we can guess from, knowing audiences, was quite controversial. Scoring mixed reviews throughout, it reached its dramatic finale with rating figures that were less than half that of the season premiere, and months after that season finished, the CW confirmed its cancellation. It seems fairly common for shows that have a particularly socially conscious or anti-racist tone that people do not take a liking to that. People take it as a personal attack, as if you can't just choose to not watch the show. So whilst there was a lot of pushback on that, there was also a lot of praise for its ambition and what it was trying to do, which makes it kind of a shame that it got cancelled. It could have had a lot more done with it. 7. M.O.D.O.K. Now, M.O.D.O.K certainly wasn't the cleverest or most visually stunning series that aired last year, but this Marvel stop-motion animated comedy certainly demanded your attention once you first got your eyeballs on it. Despite solid critical reviews, M.O.D.O.K didn't really capture the zeitgeist in any major way, as was likely reflected in its streaming figures, which to date haven't been disclosed by Hulu, which in itself is a bit telling. All the same, the show was recently cancelled by the streaming service, adding yet another corpse to their pile of short-lived Marvel series, including Hellstrom, which lasted just a single season, and Ghost Rider, which was shelved before it even started shooting. Going off the history that they have with Marvel shows, I'm saying that maybe they should just put a stop on that for now. Wait till later and maybe try again. It doesn't seem to be working. 6. Roswell, New Mexico. Roswell, New Mexico is the second adaptation of Melinda Metz's beloved Roswell High books, made to follow the hit series Roswell, which ran for 3 seasons between 1999 and 2002 before being cancelled due to low ratings. It first launched on the CW in 2019 and initially garnered quite a bit of criticism for being too similar, almost identical to the original. Despite this alleged reimagining being not very imaginative at all, it posted solid ratings through its first 2 seasons as the general reception steadily improved. Yet mere weeks before the imminent debut of its 4th season, the network confirmed that the upcoming season would be its last on air. Once again, as we sort of expect, the CW didn't give an official reason for its cancellation, but we can sort of guess it was due to viewing figures. They ended up with less than half their original viewers when they got to their finale, and that isn't a good omen for going forward now, is it? 5. Magnum P.I. A reboot of the legendary 80s crime drama of the same name, this was always going to struggle, particularly because it didn't of course have our beloved mustachioed star Tom Selleck at its centre. This new take launched in 2018 as part of the LEGACIES of crime series reboots, also including Hawaii Five-0 and MacGyver. Whilst scoring heavily mixed reviews across its run, it was still a consistent ratings hit, maintaining an average of 7.48 million views per episode throughout season 3. When the 4th season rolled around, viewership figures were dropping significantly, and yet this isn't actually the reason cited for its cancellation. Instead, apparently, CBS and Universal Television just couldn't reach a financial agreement about going forwards with it. The cancellation also effectively brought the LEGACIES to an end, given that Hawaii Five-0 wrapped up in 2020 and MacGyver was itself cancelled last year. 4. Legacies. The original spin-off series Legacies, the 3rd entry into the CW's Vampire Diaries universe, began airing in late 2018 to solid reviews and ratings alike. Yet, as the seasons rolled on, it seemed that fans were really dissatisfied in the direction the show was taking, particularly how they chose to tackle the main protagonist, Hope, and her development. Season 4's ratings have been absolutely dire so far, so it wasn't terribly surprising when the CW included it in their recent spate of spring cleaning cancellations. The decision not to proceed with a 5th season was also reportedly in part due to the network preparing to be sold and attempting to make itself look as attractive as possible to potential buyers. If you think about it, keeping a declining show on the slate does them no favours at all. The season 4 finale, airing on June the 16th, is now the de facto series finale. Though this seemingly brings the Vampire Diaries universe to an end, co-creator Julie Plec has stated that she's already working on a 4th show, so we'll see. 3. NAOMI. We are all too familiar with superhero TV shows by now. If you've not watched any of the Marvel shows that they've been just thrusting on us from every angle, then I don't know, maybe you've been living under a rock, maybe you just have stronger willpower than the rest of us. But let's not forget about DC. NAOMI is a DC TV show that was based off of a series of comics of the same name, and even directed by Academy Award-winning director Ava DuVernay. Given its pretty solid basis, it seemingly had a solid shot at success, and the series debuted to strong reviews, with particular praise for Casey Warfell's performance as the title character. However, beyond this, NAOMI struggled to find an audience, debuting to barely 800,000 viewers and achieving scarcely half of that number by the end of the season. Now, it has to be said that this isn't entirely the fault of the content of the show, if you were ever assuming it was. I would say it's in large part due to the huge random pauses they had in airing the episodes. At one point, they even paused it for the Beijing Olympics. It does absolutely nothing for your viewer base to suddenly have to wait more time than expected to get your next installment of something. It kills any tension that was being built up, and it does nothing to keep people engaged, so obviously people are going to drop off. And so, just 2 days after NAOMI wrapped up its 1st season, the CW confirmed it wouldn't be returning. As with Legacies, NAOMI was just another underperforming title to get the axe before the CW's big sale. 2. Riverdale. The cast of Riverdale is finally free. They've all been released from their cages. They can go and do other things now. I thought I'd never see the day. I joke, of course, but it has been a bit of a long-running gag that the cast of the hit teen drama series have themselves grown long weary of its increasingly absurd storylines. At the rate it was going, I really thought it was never going to end. However, Riverdale is one of the latest shows to get the axe under the CW's big spring cleaning bash. The network confirmed that the Archie Comics adaptation will end with its upcoming 7th season, set to debut next year. At least in this case, there was a prevailing feeling amongst the fans, the cast, and the crew that it was time to bring bring this to an end. I mean, it seemed fitting, seeing that season 6 had debuted with a steep ratings drop from the prior season, one which they haven't recovered from so far. Considering the fame that it granted their leads, it will genuinely be interesting to see what they do next, and I wish them the best. There's a lot of very talented people on that show. It's just unfortunate that the show itself was iffy at best. And number 1, Mr. Mayor. Sitcom king Ted Danson debuted his new series, Mr. Mayor, in early 2021. He plays a businessman running for mayor of Los Angeles for all the wrong reasons, and between the reliability of Danson and the series co-creator Tina Fey, it seemed primed to be a surefire hit. Their debut season received very mixed reviews. People generally didn't know how they felt about the very broad style of comedy, but they knew they felt good about Ted Danson, which is unsurprising. Even though the show's ratings had halved by the end of the season, its finale still pulled in a respectable 2.53 million US viewers. And let's be real, you could do much worse than that. When season 2 rolled around, the fans considered it a pretty good improvement, but critics just really couldn't get on board with the hype. In fact, most of them didn't even review it. The show's rating decline continued, with the second season bottoming out at 1.49 million US viewers in its penultimate episode. And then, literally 2 days after this episode aired, NBC announced Mr. Mayor's cancellation. Understandably, a lot of fans were very disappointed, not only because to them it had been on an up, but also because historically a few NBC seasons actually only find their feet in the second and third go they get, and we're never gonna get that now. Ugh, what could have been. And with that, we've reached the end of this list of 10 more TV shows that just got cancelled. Were you a big fan of any of these shows? Tell me all about your heartbreak in the comments down below, and we can all cry together. If you don't feel like crying though, head on over to whatculture.com to see more articles and lists like this every single day. And as always, I've been your local Riverdale hater, Amy Rapier, and I'll catch you next time.